Welcome to this session of Go Ask Debbie. To see more tips, tricks, and tutorials like this one, be sure to subscribe to my channel. If you like this tip, be sure to like and comment and let me know what else you'd like to see. Now let's get started. There's now an explosion of data and statistics that businesses need to track, manage, analyze, and interpret. And when you need to analyze data, you can have one set of data and view it in multiple ways and reasons for analysis. You're now looking at the desktop application Microsoft Excel. Microsoft Excel is designed to take data in the form of numbers and words and create sensible analysis from it. It allows you to produce documents and customize them in ways that make sense for the people that you're delivering the information to. In this course, we will look at various aspects of the creation process. We'll take a look at the basic elements of each menu: the File menu, the Home menu, Insert menu, Page Layout menu, Formulas menu, Data menu, Review menu, and the View menu, so that you'll be able to create your own spreadsheets as well as enter and manipulate data. The interface of Microsoft Excel is designed to be similar to other Microsoft Office programs. For example, when you see the menu across the top, you'll notice that it's very similar to Microsoft PowerPoint and Microsoft Word. In fact, you'll notice that the Home menu is going to be very much the same. Microsoft Excel has what is called the formula bar, and the formula bar is going to pertain to whatever cell you have highlighted. So for example, if we write the word Google into the cell that we have highlighted, you'll notice the word Google inside the formula bar. That'll be the same if you have numbers there also. So if you highlight the cell, what you want to do is you want to write into the address bar, the formula bar, to make changes. When you first click on a cell, you can write to that cell. However, if you go back to change the information in that cell, you'll want to do this using the formula bar. Let's look at the sheets at the bottom of the window. Every workbook has several spreadsheets. The default is 3, but I only have 1 here for training purposes. So the file that you're going to save can have an unlimited number of worksheets inside of it. For example, we can click this button that says New Sheet, and we can add a second sheet. And we can add a third and a fourth, as many as we need. In order to make sure that these sheets are going to be identifiable, we can rename them. Simply right-click, and then we click the Rename button. And Excel will allow us to write in this area and do the same thing for any other sheets. Call them something specific. In some cases, you're going to want to see more of the worksheet at a glance, and so you can do this by zooming in and making the sheet so that you can see more of it. You can also zoom out of the sheet where you can see the cells larger but less of it. As always the case in Microsoft Office programs, you'll have the opportunity to redo your last action. You can do that by checking in all the areas in which you've worked before, and you can go back over your work and redo certain steps. And the bottom bar is also going to be customizable. If you go to this very bottom bar and you right-click, you'll notice that you can add in any information that you want to have shown here on the status bar. As you're working inside of your cells, the status bar will tell you what's happening inside the cell. And finally, just as you would in any other Microsoft Office program, each menu is going to have certain panels, or it's called a ribbon. For example, if we go to the Home menu, we'll see the Clipboard panel, the Font panel, the Lined panel, Number panel, Styles panel, Cells panel, Editing panel. You've seen similar designs in Word, where you got the Clipboard panel, Font panel, Paragraph panel, Styles panels, and others. The same again with similarities with a clipboard panel, slides panel, fonts, paragraph, drawing, and editing. Now let's begin looking at the File menu. Now let's take a look at the File menu. And to do that, we're going to go to the upper left-hand side. We'll click on File. You're going to see this area open up called the Backstage. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click inside on the first link, which says Info. Now this tab has all property information that you can edit before you save your file. So for example, what you can do is obviously you can write in the name of the document. When you save it, you can tag the document with specific attributes, and you can even add a category to the document. What this does is adds in metadata. When someone gets the document or saves it, if you want, you can add in attribution, or someone that's worked on the document, you can add in that author by clicking this link. You can expand the list of properties by clicking this area. And if you didn't have any other metadata, you can put in such information as your company or your brand. And because Microsoft Excel is shareable across the web, we can determine how it's going to be viewed inside of a browser, and we can control this by clicking this Browser View Options button. For example, if we have more than one worksheet, we can determine that only one of those worksheets can be seen on the web. Notice we have 4 workbooks here, worksheets. What we can do is determine that there are only going to be a certain number of sheets that can be seen, and we can determine that the only thing that's going to be visible online is going to be a certain items within the workbook. And obviously these are things that are going to be highlighted and tagged. For example, if we're inside of Excel and we determine that they're going to use this item, and that's the only thing we want to be seen on the web, what we can do is we're saying we need to define a name for this. This is the area that we want people to see. We're going to call this name Region. We're then going to click OK. And then what we're going to do now is we're going back to our File command. And now we're going to click inside of our browser options again. We're now going to say that we only want certain items in the workbook to be seen, and we're going to be able to click this button that says Region. And click OK. Now let's look at the rest of the items on the File menu. We're now going to go to the File tab once again, and we're going to look at the New link. And what you're going to notice is that you have several pre-planned ways for you to start working with Excel. You can start with the plain blank workbook. In most cases, that's where you're going to start working with your document. You also have what are called templates. And you'll see those here. For example, you'll see an expense trends budget. You'll see a back-to-school planner. And these are starter templates. That will help you to start creating a document from something that's pre-planned or pre-set up that we'll take a look at further in depth in another video. We can also go to open an existing document. And so by clicking this document, we can find any open Excel documents on our hard drive. Of course, we know that saving our documents, we would use these 2 links as well as saving the entire document as a PDF. Now, obviously, you're going to print from this menu, but printing is going to be a little more involved because in some cases, you're only going to be able to print certain parts of your document, and again, we'll look at that in a separate video in depth. In the last video, we talked about sharing. You have a few ways to share videos. We can click this link to share the document with someone else. We click Save to the Cloud. This document is going to be saved to a specific OneDrive location. Now, you need to have a OneDrive account with Microsoft Excel, and this will be saved to your account. We can email the document as an attachment. We can also present the documents online. This basically allows us to use Microsoft Excel inside programs like Skype Meeting as part of Office 365. And to collaborate with people in real time on the actual document that we're working on. Again, we'll be using the document in OneDrive, however, we'll be using some of Microsoft Office online meeting facilities in order to do that, and we can export the content in Microsoft Office document to other locations. For example, we can export into a PDF, and we can actually change the file type. Now, Microsoft Excel is going to work the same as saving the document as another kind of document. And changing the name, however, it also exists inside the export command. You can publish your document to Power BI. Power BI is a paid solution for business intelligence. You can close the document that you're working on, and this will take you back to the beginning. And one thing that will determine how you interact with Microsoft Excel will be this Options link. And when you're new with working with Microsoft Excel, you'll probably want to leave the default settings as they are. However, you will want to be familiar with each and every one of these areas, because if you hit a point in which you need to do something different, Microsoft Excel is adaptable. So you have areas where you can adapt, how you can interact with formulas, with data, how you can check over your work, how you save your document, and how it auto-saves, the language, and more advanced options that you'll just want to be familiar with mildly. You can customize your ribbons as well as your toolbar. And at a glance, you can look at what programs are working with or inside of your Microsoft Excel. And this can be important because if your Microsoft Excel is not performing adequately, or if it's possibly slow, in some cases, that can be because of an add-in that might be slowing it down. Before we view the Insert menu, we're going to clear out all that we have inside of the spreadsheet that we used with the Home menu training. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go in the upper left-hand corner, which is the intersection between the columns and rows. And we're going to click this area. You're going to find that the entire spreadsheet is then highlighted. Then what we'll do is we're going to go to the Home menu and go to the Edit section and select Clear All. And that's going to remove everything from the cells, and you'll notice that the cells are still going to be the same width and height that we left them. So what we're going to do now is click inside of one of the cells, and that'll take us back to the normal mode, and then we'll go to the Insert menu. Now, pivot tables are a very special way of being able to summarize all the information you have when you have certain data, and it's a more advanced feature, but very helpful to you once you're in the analysis stage of working with data. Now, in the Illustrations panel, this is probably more familiar to you if you've used Microsoft Word or PowerPoint. All these are ways that you can add in content to your spreadsheet or your spreadsheet document. For example, if we want to add an online picture to a particular area, all we'd need to do is click this button here, and then click the one we want to insert. Select Insert, and there we go. There's your image. Of course, we can then go back to the Home menu and we can clear this out, or we can just undo with the Undo command. Alright, going back to the Insert menu, you also have add-ins that you can place to increase the functionality of Microsoft Excel. You can check these that are going to be more geared toward Microsoft Excel, or you can use those that are going to be close to the kind of work that you're doing inside of Excel. Now, the Charts area will turn your data into visual content. So, for example, let's assume you have 2 columns of related data. When you have this information inside of Excel, you can turn this into a chart. So, for example, we'll highlight this data, and then we go to our chart area. And what we can do is we can set up the kind of chart that we want to display with this data. And you can see that Microsoft Excel will give you a sample display as you hover over the different elements of displaying the data. And you can do that with each kind of chart that you intend to use. If you intend to use geographical data, you can insert a map chart. That's going to be the case whether you want to use 2-dimensional or 3 dimensions using your 3D map. Both the spark lines and the filter are different ways of being able to view data. You can also hyperlink some of the data. So, for example, if we highlight this cell and we decide to hyperlink some of the data, we want to hyperlink something to this cell, we can insert a link for the data inside of the cell. That data is then going to be clickable to the link that you placed inside of there. And just as you would with Microsoft Word or PowerPoint document, you're able then to insert text boxes headers and footers, word art, and then objects to the document. If you're working with scientific equations, you can input those equations into your spreadsheet using the equation command. And since you're working with numbers, there may be times when you want to use symbols that are not going to be found on the keyboard. You'll typically be able to find those symbols in the insert command by placing our cursor here and clicking on the symbols, and then choosing the symbol that you want to use from the ones given to you here. We're now looking at the page layout menu, which is the next menu over, and this menu is designed to help us when we're ready to take our data and print it and make it presentable for someone else to see. So for example, one thing we can do is we can change what's called the theme. And basically all we're doing is changing the way that the spreadsheet is going to look. And so when we get ready to add color or we get ready to add charts, we're going to be able to do so according to the theme. As well as a color scheme, I'm going to be able to do that using specific fonts, and we're also going to be able to do that with specific effects that are going to be shown. And you're going to see that there is a page setup panel. Again, this is going to be specifically for when we get ready to either print or get our report ready for sale. For example, let's create some data in one cell. And let's copy this cell by hitting Control-C. And then let's create an entire range of data. Now that we've created this entire range of data, we can take a look at our page setup area. One thing we can do is we can decide what print area is going to be. And so to do that, we'll quickly click Escape, so there's no longer any active cell, and we're going to click Print Area. Now what we can do is we can highlight the area that we actually want to print, and then we go back and click Set Print Area. What that means is when we get ready to print, this is going to be the active area, and you'll be able to actually see it if you go to the File menu and then go to Print. You'll see it here. This is actually what's going to print. Say, for example, you had a second set of data and we want to take this data and highlight it and then click Set Print Area. We're going to notice that if we go back to the File command and we go to Print, you'll now see this as the print area. It's now replaced the first print area. What we can also do is go back to this print area. We can then go to another area that we want to highlight, and what we can do is we can add to the print area. If we go back to our File menu and we go to Print, what we're going to notice is that you'll see the first print area that we had, but there's also going to be a second page that's going to be the second print area. And so you'll see you're going to be able to determine the margins, the orientation, and the size for the print area that you decide on. But whatever is going to be displaying, we decide on how it's going to fit on the page. We can let Microsoft Office determine it based on what it feels is reasonable, and you're going to leave that to automatic. If that's the case, however, when we can decide on whatever's on your spreadsheet, allow Microsoft or specifically set it up yourself. When it comes to the width it's going to fit on the page, you can determine that. You can also determine that everything going up and down or vertical is going to fit on the page, and you can determine that it's going to fit on one page or 2 pages, but you can determine all that up front. This gives you control on how your reports are going to appear. You'll notice there are grid lines here in the last set of data. If we decide to leave those grid lines out, then if we go to File and we go to Print, you'll see there's no grid lines. When we go back, we place the grid lines here. You'll go back to File and Print, and then you'll now see the grid lines are back. You determine how things are going to appear on your sheet by using the Bring Forward and the Send Backward, as well as the Selection. So that's a little bit about the page layout menu. To continue watching part 2, click on the card in the upper right-hand corner. For more tips, tricks, and how-to videos like this one, click the subscribe button and then the bell, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new tutorial.